Hello, welcome to the Managed Services Platform on Account Management episode 6. And in this episode, we are going to talk about the annual planning, project scheduling, and project budgeting exercise. Mice, how things are going today?
Unbelievable, Danish. How are you?
I'm really stoked because we covered this pre-qualifying last time about how to show the statements and the future scores and how to build up like a list of projects. But I'm interested on like what's your take on and how to make it as a less salesy exercise with the client, how to package this whole thing as a more experience for the client and the future vision of the client rather than checklist of items as account managers are coming to sell me more stuff, because I think it's many of account managers are complaining that shifting to the sales role is not really convenient. So like what's the process for that, or how you see that is working?
Well, I think every role ultimately is in some way a sales role. But if we're, if we don't want to consider ourselves working in sales as an account manager or VCIO, your responsibility is to help your clients effectively use technology and be able to communicate tactically and strategically with them. And a budget is a huge part of that, to avoid ad hoc expenses that they're not going to like, especially their CFOs and controllers, and to be able to provide lots of value, whether you're including that as a value add in your managed services agreement or as a standalone, as a budget project. You need to be able to effectively communicate the plan to them and get buy-in from all of the stakeholders. So they've got to understand what they're going to get and where and how you're going to be able to deliver it.
Yeah, so it's the whole thing is like selling project by project basis is the salesy thing, but giving them the vision, you can get like a better security, which needs X amount of projects, and that can actually cost that much is much more convenient from the client perspective to purchase because they are purchasing like a vision, not like gadgets and widgets, right? So that's the big deal.
Exactly. We talked in the last couple episodes about filling the gaps and raising their scores so they don't accumulate technical debt. Now what we can do is we can actually forecast and help them understand what their spend rate is going to be on technology. Because if they've got, say, $10,000 a quarter, $15,000 a quarter that they can effectively budget, they've got $5,000 a month. Well, then from your list of recommended solutions where they have gaps, you can go in and say, this is going to be about 5, this is going to be about 10, this is going to be 15, this is going to be 2 or whatever, and help them then move those blocks around of spend to hit their quarterly thresholds. And now what they're going to do is by the end of that 12-month cycle, they're going to have much higher scores. They're going to be way more competitive with technology, and they're going to feel like they were in control of that spend and you weren't hitting them up with ad hoc expenses reactively.
I understand the why and how you actually suggest our clients to use and leverage the report for that. What features do you suggest for that? What's the kind of process? What widgets to use?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to need to use the infrastructure audit templates or any of the templates, whether it's periodic service review templates or any of the ones that have the scoring for projects in there, so that allow you to say, what's the current state that they have today? What are they currently using against your stack best practices? That's all built already. So it's already out of the box, ready to go. And many of our members that are really successful with our platform, they just take it as is and they just kind of plug in what the customer is currently doing, go in and create the list, and then you can update it later. But if you create a pretty consistent, 12-month plan with the list of recommendations, the scope of recommendations, widgets, and the overall technology health score, then you're going to get a much more engaged client.
That's perfect. So basically, you are going to use the scheduling tool to use the blocks and work with the client together as a more likely as a team, like which is the highest priority spread over the years, so they are not feeling that you are putting pressure on them, right? So you are basically make a choice when it's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
So, and you are going to use the budgeting to estimate those amounts and somehow scope how big those projects are going to be, and that gives like the complete circle for that. So
Exactly.
I think it's great. And anything to add for this process, Miles?
Just remember that it's all about showing them what they don't have and letting them choose if they're okay with that level of risk. Your responsibility as their technology guide is not to force feed them technology, but to educate them on what it can do for them. And if they don't adopt best practices, what risk they have. And let them choose. And then all you do is you guide them.
Yeah, that's a good observation, because many times they are not making any choice because they feel like they are out of control anyway. So it's easier to say no for something which might be interesting for them. But if we are showing them the value, then it's logical, and that's give them like higher sense of accomplishment. Then it's basically like a decision they can make right away, so we don't have to wait for 2 weeks to create a code or something like that. That's a good way. Thanks, Miles.
No
That
problem.
was episode 6, and the next episode we are going to talk about more how to leverage the content widget for different type of agenda items, and how to manage the meeting and make people more engaged through the meeting and after the meeting. So keep with us next week. Thank you very much, Miles, for your wisdom, and see you guys next week.
Have a great week.